In this video, you'll learn about the many different ways that Amazon sellers are losing money without even realizing it. Every day, Amazon makes a ton of mistakes with your inventory and sales, and they don't tell you a thing. I will describe in detail everything bad that is likely happening to you right now as an Amazon seller and what you can do to avoid these problems altogether in an automated way. Watch carefully, because if you don't keep track of these mistakes, you will get ripped off. First off, one of the beauties of selling with Amazon FBA is that Amazon handles all of your inventory for you. They handle storage, fulfillment, and returns, which means you only have to worry about keeping Amazon's warehouse full. But here's the problem. Amazon processes over 1.6 million orders per day, and they make a ton of mistakes. Statistics show that the error rate of Amazon FBA inventory management is as high as 1 to 1.25%. And every year, due to inventory loss or damage, product category misplacement, etc., the loss caused by Amazon's mistakes account for at least 1 to 3% of Amazon sellers' sales. So if you're making $100,000 per year, that's over $3,000 lost. And especially if you sell more expensive items, you could be losing even more than this. Here are the different ways where Amazon screw-ups are costing you money and what you can do about it. Now, the most obvious way that you're losing money is when Amazon misplaces your inventory. Fortunately, Amazon has a reimbursement policy that you can use to get your money back, but you have to proactively make a claim. Amazon will rarely openly admit to losing your inventory, so you have to keep track of everything that is lost. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you sign up for my free 6-day mini course below. If you don't watch your inventory like a hawk, Amazon's not going to do anything about it. Here are the rules. Amazon will reimburse you when inventory is lost or damaged in an Amazon warehouse and applies in these situations. 1. When items are lost or damaged in Amazon's warehouse. 2. When items are lost or damaged during delivery from the warehouse to the buyer. 3. When items are lost or damaged in shipments to Amazon. And 4. When items are lost in transit to your return shipping address. Now, in addition to the above, your inventory may also be improperly received or miscounted from inbound shipments. So let's say you send in 100 units, but Amazon only counts 95. You need to keep track of this. Now, what makes this even more confusing is that sometimes Amazon will indicate that all units were received, but the products won't show up in your inventory for sale. And usually when this happens, Amazon has lost your inventory. Now, remember when I gave you the statistic between 1 and 1.25%? Well, in my personal experience, the frequency of Amazon's mistakes is actually much higher than that today, and especially around the holidays. Now, because Amazon now enforces more strict limits on inventory, you have to constantly make small but frequent shipments to Amazon FBA, and the more frequent the shipments, the more likely stuff is going to get lost. Here's the good news. You can file a claim to get your money back, but you have to prove to Amazon that it's their fault. Now, if you win the claim, they will deposit into your account the sale price of each unit they lost minus Amazon's fees. Now, note that Amazon pays you for the selling price and not your cost of goods, which is great. If you're selling your product for $100 and they lose 100 units, they will literally pay you $10,000 minus the Amazon fees. Sounds great, right? But what is the catch? Amazon often takes forever to process your refund. Amazon will tell you that they need 48 hours or a week to process your claim, but it almost never ever happens that quickly. Now, I've been selling since 2016, and claims can sometimes take weeks or even months. Now remember, Amazon processes over 1.6 million orders per day, and you're basically asking them to look for 100 units. It's not going to be high in their priority list. Now, here's the worst part. Let's say that after months of going back and forth with Amazon, they finally admit that they misplaced your products and give you that $10,000 that you are owed. Great, right? You just made $10,000 for doing nothing. Well, not necessarily. If Amazon happens to locate your inventory someday in the future, then they will take that money back. Meanwhile, if that happens, you just lost out on many potential sales you could have had with that inventory. Now, how long does Amazon have to miraculously find your products? Well, the exact time is not written down anywhere, so technically Amazon has up until forever to locate your goods. Now, this has happened to me personally on many occasions. Amazon will lose a bunch of my inventory in November during the peak holiday selling season, only to miraculously find everything in January. Meanwhile, you lost out on all of your holiday sales with nothing to show for it. Okay, so what should you do about this? Well, the only way to combat this is to keep on top of all of your inventory shipments and file a claim as soon as possible. Now, personally, we ship into Amazon almost every single week, and you would need to hire a full-time person to keep track of it all. Now, the easiest way to deal with this automatically is to use a company like Getita. Getita will keep track of all your inbound shipments and inventory and automatically file claims for you. Now, the only downside is that they'll take 25% of whatever they recover. But the good news is that you get to keep 75%, and 75% is better than zero, so it's a no-brainer. By the way, if you use the link beneath this video, Getita will give you $400 in free reimbursements, and you only actually pay them when they actually recover you money. Now, when it comes to managing your inventory, here's what you need to watch out for. Running out of stock. You should never go out of stock because it will destroy your bestseller rank. A great way to stay in stock when you're running low is to dial down the ads or slightly raise your price to slow down demand until more inventory can come in. Now, the longer you're out of stock, the more damage you will do to your listing and organic keyword ranking. Amazon favors products that are consistently available, and if you go out of stock, you will be penalized and it will be difficult for you to recover. You also want to avoid having too much inventory. If your product is over 90 days of supply and or at least one unit has been there over 90 days, you have excess inventory in the eyes of Amazon. Amazon wants you to have a 3-month turn on your inventory or else you'll get charged a penalty. Excess inventory also negatively affects your IPI or Inventory Performance Index score. If you have too much inventory, Amazon will reduce your inventory storage limits and charge you monthly and long-term storage fees. These bills add up, and Amazon often screws up these calculations as well. You also need to keep track of stranded inventory. Stranded inventory is when the products you have stored in Amazon's warehouse are no longer connected to an active listing on Amazon. It's basically in limbo. Your products are at Amazon, but customers can't actually buy it. Now, the worst part about stranded inventory is that even though people can't buy it, you are still getting charged monthly storage fees to store that product. Again, a free tool like Getita will keep track of all the stranded inventory for you. You also want to avoid age inventory surcharges, previously known as long-term storage fees. Now, around the 18th of each month, Amazon will go through and calculate the age of your stored inventory. Your inventory age is calculated from the day it arrives at an FBA warehouse. And any inventory that's been stored in a fulfillment center for over 271 days will be subject to a long-term storage fee. Now, these fees are abnormally high, and once again, Amazon makes mistakes on this calculation all the time. Now, unless you watch your inventory like a hawk, these fees can really add up. All right, moving on. How else can Amazon hurt you with their mistakes? Well, the other major way you're losing money is with customer returns. Now, Amazon is well known for their liberal return policy, and in most cases, Amazon will refund the customer before they even return the product. Sometimes the customer doesn't even return your product, or they return an incorrect product, which means 3 things. 1, you're out 1 unit of your inventory. 2, you still have to pay Amazon's fees. And 3, you end up losing money no matter what. Now, this can be a huge problem if you sell in a category that has a high return rate, such as clothing. The average return rate on Amazon is 5 to 15%. For clothing, electronics, apparel, and jewelry, this number can be as high as 40%. Let's throw some worst case numbers into the mix. Let's say you sell 100 units per day of clothing. That means you're likely getting 40 units returned back to you every day. And of these 40, 10% don't even bother sending the item back to you. Are you really going to spend time chasing down 4 units per day and filing individual claims for each? No way. You got better things to do. And Amazon expects you to be lazy and not to do anything about it. Amazon handles all returns and refunds for customers, but sometimes buyers can get a refund even if they forget to return the item. Remember, Amazon processes hundreds of thousands of returns every single day, and they make a ton of mistakes. The following are some common return claim scenarios. 1, the customer does not return the goods after the refund. Amazon has refunded the customer, but the FBA warehouse still does not receive the customer's return for more than 45 days. You might not also get a return after replacement. This is when the buyer received the replacement, but the original product was not returned to FBA. And then this happens all the time. The returned product can no longer be sold. This is when the buyer returned a new product for reasons such as purchased by mistake, but the returned product cannot be sold again. Here are a list of other things that Amazon will accidentally forget to reimburse you for. 1, the customer is refunded more than they were originally charged. This can sometimes happen when they bought from you during a sale and then filed for a return after the sale was over. Sometimes Amazon will refund the full amount and not the sale price that they paid. The customer sent the wrong item back and Amazon accepted it. This unfortunately happens all the time. One time I got a return for linen napkins, but received a University of Florida t-shirt back as a return. Amazon never really checks what is sent back. Once again, don't bother handling this stuff yourself. Just pay a separate company to deal with this stuff like Getida. Now, the final way that Amazon screws you over is with accounting mistakes. Now, as I mentioned before, I've been selling at Amazon since 2016, and I believe that they purposely make it difficult for you to keep track of your fees and your payments. Now, the only number that's actually really easy to find is the amount of revenue that you're making, because this is your glamour number, the number that makes you feel good about selling on their platform. But what's extremely difficult to find are your fees. In Amazon Seller Central, you have to generate a report, export it to an Excel spreadsheet, and then analyze it offline. Not only that, it's extremely difficult to correlate a fee to an exact transaction, and everything is just kind of mixed in together. The only real way to manage your profit and loss is to pay for an Amazon accounting software to find your true net profit. But to make things worse, Amazon screws up the books all the time. Here are a couple things that you need to watch out for. Your account was billed more than the initial order amount. This is pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes your item might be classified in the wrong category and charge an incorrect final value fee. Sometimes when you pay for Amazon advertising, you're charged far too much per click than what is reasonable. Your account also might be wrongfully charged for the wrong weight or dimension of inventory. And this actually happens all the time. One time I ordered dental floss and it came in a box that was large enough to fit a shelf. And I'm willing to bet that that dental floss seller was charged incorrectly for an oversized product. Here's the thing about Amazon. If the dimensions of your product are entered incorrectly, Amazon will always charge you for the next larger size. And if your product is borderline in terms of becoming an oversized product, Amazon will often add up to an inch in dimension to your product listing to account for packaging. Unless you are watching your fees like a hawk, you could be losing a lot of money in oversized FBA fees. And what's frustrating is that this often isn't even your fault. Because you don't technically own your own listings, Amazon or a piggybacker could alter your listing and accidentally mess up the dimensions or the product classification. Sometimes Amazon says that they've reimbursed you, but you actually never received the money. So bottom line, the key takeaway of this video is that Amazon makes a ton of mistakes with your inventory and accounting that will almost always cost you money. And it's funny, the mistakes that they make are almost always in their favor. No one cares about your Amazon business more than you, so you must keep tight track of your inventory and your finances. Now, if you want to focus on selling and not accounting, you can outsource all this checking to a company called Getida. It's going to cost you 25% of your recovered revenue, but it's worth it, especially if you aren't good with accounting. The best part though is that you don't even pay Getida unless they actually recover money for you, so it's always a win-win. And right now, Getida is offering $400 in free reimbursements when you use the link beneath this video, making it a no-brainer. It's literally $400 of free money. So now that you know about all the crazy mistakes that Amazon can make with your account, make sure you watch this video to learn the right way to sell on Amazon step by step.